Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm here. What if all the continents went to war with each other? I'll just quickly go over the continents. North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. Now there's no Antarctica on this map, but we all know the Penguin Army is too powerful, so we'll just leave them out. But for now, let's get into this scenario. We'll see that North America starts pushing into South America, taking most of the northern parts of Colombia. South America makes a landing in the Hispaniola and quickly steal the Bahamian Islands. They have a very hard time trying to get past this area because it's Cuba and Florida. Hold on a minute. That's not the Bahamas, that's the Bahamas. This map is weird. But anyways, we see the armies push in, and the Colombian government is actually starting to get a little weird. Moving to this part of the world, the US sends a military operation from Greenland and into Iceland, taking the capital city, and really Iceland doesn't have any military. I know they're in Europe, but they didn't get there in time. Meanwhile, down here in Europe, this front here is stalemated. And we see the Europeans start pushing into Turkey, but end up getting pushed back by now a fully mobilized Turkish army. And the Turkish army retakes Istanbul. However, can't say the same for this island here, as it, well, really no one lives on there, no offense. But we see a couple, we see a couple incisions here in Asia made by Europe. And they do get here pretty quickly because, first of all, Russia's capital is in Moscow, and Moscow is in Europe. And also, same thing with that island, nobody lives here. I bet it would take you 17 billion years to find 3 people living in what I'm coloring in blue right now. Moving down here, we see that the Asians land in the Horn of Africa. The Somalian government just falls within minutes. Actually, days. They don't have that weak of an army. Djibouti's cooked, okay? At one point, I forgot that place exists. But so far, the Asian front line in Africa is looking good. They are climbing out here, now entering into Eritrea and completely destroying the government. They have a hard time, well, they take most of Sudan's coast, but they have a hard time entering Egypt. Now obviously, the Egyptian army is a very huge army, so they're still made it here. Crete. Europe makes an incision here in Morocco. Now they do have a hard time down here because it's a desert, and it's also, well, it's just a desert. So they stick to the coast. They capture the capital of Morocco, and they are slowly but surely, they took the capital of Algeria, and now they took the capital of good old Tunisia. We'll see here Indonesia and Malaysia make an incision here into Papua New Guinea, and they don't really stand a chance. They enter into the northern parts of Australia, and they don't want to go in the outback, and they don't want to go around the coast because then they know they're going to meet the real Australian army. But they do snake their way down to Perth, which is, I think it's right there. Or it's probably here, but I don't know. So that is what Asia is claiming. They do go a little bit in the outback, but not too far because, well, it's the outback. Here is the world map so far. Now moving back into North America. Well, North and South America. We can see here that the Greens make a landing in Cuba and they surprisingly take most of Cuba. All of Cuba. They do take some of the Bahamas. I hope this is Bahamas. And they do have a very hard time trying to cross Miami. At this point, this is what the United States, well, North America has got. They are slowly enclosing on the troops over here, but, I mean, it's like 40,000 troops. And trust me, Brazil is a strong country, just not as strong as the U.S. Also, the U.S. takes back their rightfully owned, why do I keep saying the U.S.? North America takes back their rightfully owned Bahamian Islands and are currently I don't know. They're currently taking back Cuba. And whatever this abomination is. Which is, I guess, it's just a random landmass. That's probably a mistake by me. You know, I could have always done that. Yeah, they take back all of Hispaniola as well. But it's not all trash for the South Americans because they end up making a landing here in Africa. I feel like in every type of these videos, Africa is always the ones that always get like targeted. Is it just me? Even when I play the Continental War 3 on Roblox, it's always like Africa who gets targeted. I don't know. It's a little weird. It's a little suspicious, if you ask me. By the way, the South American team makes 2 new colonies in Africa. The U.S. makes the landing in Africa as well. So really, every continent is going after Africa. But remember, Africa has Egypt. They're not all that weak. So they do push back. A lot of the European top team split them in 2. The American team is pushed back a little bit. The green team, it's getting dealt some damage. The Asian team, it didn't really lose anything. So keep in mind, Africa's still fighting. Anyways, back up to Europe. Now a big mobilized red team army comes and, well, retakes the land. I'm not even sure if this land is worth it, honestly. It's just snow and nothingness. Snow, nothingness, forests, and mountains. That's it. But they just barely push the Europeans back. North America snakes their way. Okay, that's too big. Snakes their way all the way up and captures this claim of Europe. They make a incision into Iberia, but have a hard time when they get to Madrid. They take all of Portugal because Portugal doesn't stand a chance. Back here, we see that the Europeans invade, or the Asians invade from the Caucasus. And holy moly, did they take a lot of land. The Asians eventually break the stalemate and start pushing into Egypt. Madagascar is taken. And yes, it doesn't really go well for the African team. They might be the first ones out. Europe jumps in the grab and, you know, they take all of northern Africa. Even the Sahara, guys. Even the Sahara. Yep, they deal with it. They deal with the heat. The Americans do have a hard time due to Nigeria and their very strong army, but eventually they do get into a stalemate with Nigeria. South America does the same thing and takes South America takes South Africa, which they weren't very prepared for an incident like this to happen. So they take a lot of Central Africa. You know, they even go up in what the North Americans were about to claim and, you know, claim it. The L team eventually breaks this stalemate and takes all of Nigeria. Africa's pretty cooked. Africa's pretty cooked if you ask me. The blue team takes the rest of Africa. So this is the split of Africa. Here's a view of the world map. Back in Oceania, we see they finally break the stalemate in the outback. And
Give me that. Give me
they
that.
sneak down the coast and they capture Sydney and Canberra, which is, I think, the capital.
No.
I think that's the capital of Australia. I don't know, guys. Oceania is completely gone. Second continent out. That happens. South America. And yes, the Asian team does start to push into the other teams. They push into South America. They push into North America's claims and even cut them off. And due to them being cut off, the green team gets more of their land. The yellow team surprisingly almost gets kicked out of Africa. This is the last little bit of the yellow team's claims on Africa. But before we see that, we see the green team slowly but surely becomes smaller. North America's kicked out. Africa split. Africa barely exists. Same does South America. Back here, South America does push back the US a little bit. But eventually, it's not that worth it. The green team makes a final straw. A final resort to the US's shenanigans. And they make a major pushback all the way to Argentina. But eventually, it's not worth it. North America quickly takes all of Iberia, captures France, and France surrenders, of course. West Africa and West North Africa. Quickly, the Asians come in. A landing is made retaking this island. They cut off Scandinavia from the rest of Europe and send a tiny boat to Denmark to make sure the Scandinavians are really by themselves. Then, slowly but surely, the Russians, the Asians, the Chinese, the Palestinians, the Middle Easterns, the Iranians, the Arabs, the Japanese, the Malaysians, the Indonesians, everyone just starts rapidly taking Scandinavia. Europe is cooked. After years, Britain finally gets invaded. They push in from Turkey, but it's not all dead for the Europeans. You see, in Italy, they have secret weapons of mass destruction. I'm talking nukes. They use two on both of these teams' strongest military bases. Well, one of their strongest military bases, which severely helps them regain a bunch of land that they've lost. These countries find out that Europe has nukes, and they quickly use two more. They quickly pushed a little bit of the teams. But these two guys, they do find out. Asia and Europe, they find out. Did I say Europe? I meant North America. They find out about Europe's secret weapons of mass destruction in Italy. And they both start rapidly trying to get to Europe. Italy, I meant. The red team has already made it to Italy, but the yellow team has followed quickly behind them. Now, they don't know where these weapons of mass destruction are. They looked all over Italy. They looked on Sicily, they looked in the capital. But the Europeans are not telling them. And if the Europeans ever want to rebel, because we all know they're going to lose, they have the power to. Which might happen. Who knows? I'm the one deciding the videos here, guys. Europe falls. Well, not yet. North Americans make their way around Europe's African claims. Same with the red team. The red team, yes, it's not looking good for Europe. They split it down the middle, just like how they did to Italy. And yeah, there's no more Europe. This here is a treaty of weapons of mass destruction. As you see, we look here, it's mainly in Italy. We have Italy. We have the yellow team's claims and the red team's claims, just totally disconnected from the actual team. And we have this little white blob here. Around Rome, the capital, they decided to make sure that no one is there. Because there could be weapons of mass destruction there, who knows? You know, that place is full of pro-European insurgents. It's like it's deadly for North Americans and Asians and really everyone who's not European to enter. Like deadly. And they end that peace deal. They live happily ever after with no more wars.